Welcome in. My name is Angel, and I want to talk about my redesigns from a lore filled world with a wide cast of nostalgic characters. And yes, I'm talking about McDonald's. Today, we're going to be discussing tip of the iceberg controversies, creation, and development of these iconic mascots. From Ronald to the confusing but welcomed existence of Grimace, strap in because we have a lot of art and silly mascot brainworms to discuss since they've been taking over my life and seemingly yours too if you're this far in. Something I have to mention before we get too deep is that this is for fun. I don't support the actions of McDonald's as a whole, and I've become pretty attached to these reimagined versions of the characters and the potential of giving them more substance outside of their obvious existence for branding, as I'm sure most of us mascot fans tend to do. I'm happy to answer any questions, welcome you to have your own headcanons and connections, and if you don't like this company or characters at all, that's totally fine, but this may not be for you, as I feel I won't be slowing down on drawing these characters for a little while. Also, if you prefer the OG designs, they are undoubtedly iconic, and this isn't made in vain at all to those original designs because they inspired me to make this. And if you don't like my designs, please be kind. I'm totally open to different opinions and ideas for these guys. I like the idea that I could take these characters and redress them or, redesign them in the future. So let's focus on the constructive part of feedback if you do have anything you'd like to share. There are definitely some characters that took a lot more work to figure out than others, but with all that aside, let's jump into it. Starting with some concepts, here you can see my very messy brainstorming session, and usually a lot of detail gets added a little later in line work and color for me. A big thing I want to focus on is grounding these characters in the laws of their world, a land filled with little burger courses, nugget buddies, lakes of filet of fish, and burgers as political leaders of society. It was truly a project that was daunting to even approach. Let's start with the one you're all waiting for, Mr. Ronald McDonald. Ronald McDonald was created in 1963 by a local McDonald's franchise owner, Oscar Goldstein, and television personality Willard Scott. Scott, who previously played Bozo the Clown on local TV, created and starred as Ronald McDonald, the hamburger happy clown, to replace Bozo in McDonald's commercials. Bozo the Clown is one of the most famous clowns, so this makes a lot of sense, but there are some elements that worked for Bozo I didn't feel matched Ronald. Actually, when double checking my information for this video, I really noticed how much Ronald's face paint was directly taken from Bozo. I always felt that the thin under eyeliner made him look unbalanced, a more angular look that I think I kind of blocked out as a kid. I adjusted this by giving him a more classic clown makeup look that would translate better into his quote unquote golden years. Get it? Like the arches? This also breaks up basically the only two colors that Ronald carries. As opposed to the jumpsuit we see Ronald wear today, which was virtually unchanged from his first major redesign, he began as a clown with the tray as a hat and a cup as a nose, looking more like a mix of old rappers and his own character. I personally really liked some of these ideas, as if I were a magical clown wizard who mainly lives around various food items. Yeah, I would like to think I'd wear something to represent that. Now, could you say it's like wearing the peel leaves of all the boring items? Yeah, but this is a fun cartoon world of whimsy, and those aren't the rules within our puppet world. I wanted to highlight his fry bag inspired pockets and love the mismatched style of them that felt very classic clown as well. Stuck with the older logos with the red stripe for the most part, partially because I am in Canada, and seeing the logo without any red is just kind of weird considering it always has a little maple leaf in there. But I do adjust it depending on what the design for the character leans to. I also gave him his initials on his top pocket, sporting a headset so he can always be in contact with the rest of the crew, a paper server hat with a pop-up blue to tie in his new accent color, and I adjusted the shape of his jumpsuit, but outside of this, I genuinely couldn't redesign much else, as I do want this to scream Ronald McDonald. There were many points where I couldn't recognize him instantly, and then I went to adjust my designs to make sure that he would still be recognizable. Maybe I'll do them in different styles or even a rework entirely, but I do still really love the OG designs. I had some consideration in doing a 90s extreme design line, as I loved when mascots would get slapped with the cool coat of paint back in the day. It's just so funny and a clear demonstration of the way of the times. I feel like that would be a really fun, other project to work on. It's always been interesting to me that McDonald's never really did that though. Their characters have stayed unchanged for the majority of their existence beside little workups here and there. Another little detail you might notice me adding is a white outline of the characters and halftones on the outlines being distinct blue, yellow, and pink. This is in relation to my favorite item as a kid, which were these little character cookies that always had this packaging color scheme. And I feel like the primary colors on those high chairs they used to have, if you remember. Anyhow, I thought it would be nice for y'all to see how I put a little bit of me into some of these designs, as these characters are very nostalgic. But, with that, we have the new Ronald McDonald. Pretty straightforward, but I'm personally really happy with how he turned out. I think he's one of my favorite designs. I love the little detail of him having like different colored gloves now and the little straw zipper. If there's any little things you noticed me adding in, please feel free to mention it down below. Next up, we're on to Birdie the early bird. Birdie the early bird is the first identifiable female character used in McDonald'sLand commercials introduced in 1980 to promote the company's new breakfast items. Birdie was voiced by the late Russi Taylor, who also voiced Minnie Mouse, portrayed by Patty Maloney in the McDonald's television commercials. Birdie also received a major look overhaul in 1986, probably the most extreme one besides Grimace, but we'll get to that later. The arrival of Birdie goes like this. A mysterious box dropped from the night sky and landed in McDonaldland. Inside was a giant egg. Because it was too early for the egg to hatch, Ronald McDonald and his friends stayed awake all night to protect it and keep it warm. Ronald suggested that the best way to make the egg hatch, of course, was to give it love. Upon hatching in the morning, Birdie was already happy and was staying in McDonaldland. She was originally portrayed as a somewhat clumsy flyer, famous for being up bright and early because she always had breakfast on her mind, which, like, same. I like to think of her as the sister of the group, as well as a logical thinker regardless of her clumsy nature. Kinda like the second in command, even if Grimace is more of Ronald's best buddy. A personal funny little story, I always remember loving McDonald's, but I was a notoriously picky eater as a child, and my family literally applauded the day I got lettuce on my burger instead of just cheese. I know, it's pretty sad. It took me another decade though to even try Big Mac or pickles at all because I don't know, they just freaked me out. But now I like literally love them, so it was all for nothing. Oh, even remember the day that we went to get some food after shopping for the local mascots to actually be there, which was magical, especially since, living in Canada, you're not really near any theme parks or anything that really has characters like that, which is why I think I got so interested in them from such a young age. They had free Polaroids they were taking. I think it was like a Ronald McDonald House event. And I got a picture with Birdie, but unfortunately I think the image is lost media, my own now. But that was an amazing day, and if little me could see me now, well, they'd probably wonder why I'm still drawing these guys, honestly, I won't lie. I really loved her original design too, and how sweet she looked, and truly didn't want to stray from that too much. For some reason, female anthropomorphic pilots were a very popular trend, and Birdie was no exception, so it was hard to take out some of those elements. I mainly only took out her scarf. As she's always thinking about breakfast, I opted out for the long scarf tails to be the long tails of her apron. I also gave her the uniform shirts from 1980, and I think it connected so well to her existing palette, so I'm really happy with how that turned out. Of course, freckles are a must, including some more feathers. I also gave her a more defined tail, inspired from like a little chicken's tail. Of course, I had to continue the pocket motif so they are all cohesive with each other, also giving Birdie pilot headphones so she can contact Ronald and the others. I like to imagine in the modern day, she's a speed delivery service for all you mobile app users. I drew the McNugget buddies with her too. Technically, Birdie is a canary, not a chicken, very much like Big Bird, at least from what I could find so far, but this isn't surprising as these characters have been known for copyright, how do I say, inspirations in the past. But whatever, she's chicken coated to me. Anyways, with all that aside, here is Early Birdie for our lineup. Is he a taste bud? Is he a dessert? Or just a monster? It's time for Grimace. As mentioned, my main goal with these redesigns or reimaginings was that these characters are still recognizable, but with a bit more detail of their characteristics and elements from their time. Grimace was definitely a challenge due to his simplicity and the divisive opinion on what exactly he is. A taste bud, an embodiment of a milkshake, a creature, maybe all three, but for the sake of my brain, I've officially landed on milkshake since he's mainly used in promotion for milkshakes, as most McDonald's characters were created with some kind of promotion in mind. So, Grimace made his McDonaldLand debut in 1971. Conceived initially as quote-unquote evil Grimace, he was a scaly, malicious creature with 4 arms who terrorized the town by stealing milkshakes. Because this frightening design terrified young children, McDonald's quickly revamped him into the lovable, soft, 2-armed purple blob we know today in 1972. As mentioned before, some characters were definitely more challenging than others, and I went through some extra adjustments when it came to Grimace. Played around with the idea of giving him ears, which you can see here, but decided he looked better without them in the end. I also had this idea to have him be a Neapolitan color scheme since that's the original 3 flavors of the milkshakes. Or maybe the original were just vanilla and chocolate, but it's at least the 3 we have today. But I think it came out a bit too slay for Grimace. Let me know what you prefer though down below in the comments. I honestly still really like both looks, but I felt like leaning into giving him pink gloves and this little fluff of hair was a lot closer to the silly personality he tends to adopt later on. I gave him cute 1980 milkshake cup shoes to match the other eras, and because the color scheme worked the best, honestly. As Ronald's right-hand buddy, he gets a matching server hat and a little headset to also communicate with him. I felt giving him a fluffier look and gloves made him so much cuter, and I originally wanted to do a bendy straw, but don't you worry, I double-checked and did my research thoroughly and can confirm that McDonald's never had bendy straws, so I had to adjust that too. In the end, it felt a little empty, so I added a whipped cream topping that came on the Grimace shake that released a couple years ago, and my own interpretation of a Grimace berry that would grow in McDonaldland. But not too much else to add. I feel like he's more uniform, cartoony, and still, and possibly more, identifiable as Grimace. For the final design, the star of McDonaldland, only second to Mr. McDonald, coming to the stage is Mac Tonight. Mac Tonight was by far the most requested character from the attention I got on my TikTok page, which you can check out with the link in the description if you like, of that little animation meme I did. A lot of people really wanted to see him done, so I decided he would be the final part to this, hopefully part 1, going into part 2 if you guys are interested, of my little McDonaldland characters. For those of you who don't know, McDonald's created the jazz-loving, moon-headed mascot Mac Tonight in 1986. He was designed by a Southern California ad agency to boost slow dinner sales. Wearing cool sunglasses and a tuxedo, he sang a parody of the classic song Mac the Knife. He mainly promoted the new late-night and even 24/7 locations for some restaurants. While Mac was extremely popular in the 1980s, the mascot was unfortunately retired in 1989 after the son of musician Bobby Darin sued McDonald's. Just one of the many copyright reasons we only see the main 4 characters in any promotional material today. During the height of his campaign, multiple hydraulic animatronics were made of Mac Tonight to be installed in restaurants and entertain guests. Only one remains today, though, in the entrance of the world's largest McDonald's in Orlando. Mac Tonight has a heavy association with the vaporwave genre of music. His likeness is often used in music videos and other visuals within the genre. This was my main inspiration for him too, sporting a more 80s inspired jacket, colors, and of course a McDonald themed keytar. I honestly struggled a lot with his colors and overall design, but I'm very happy with the reception. The little detail of the 24/7 sign and asymmetrical glasses was a nice touch. It's hidden by his keytar, though I also designed him a belt that's half sun and half moon to also represent that 24-hour theming. I'm not claiming that this is better or more classy than his original look, so my personal headcanon is that this would be his travel stage rocker outfit for guests, leaning in the modern resurgence of vaporwave, as opposed to him being literally bolted down to a stage. So with all that, we have Mr. Mac Tonight back here, ready to go, performing for guests and letting us know how good McDonald's is after dark. As a final little treat for my first full video, I know she was a long one, I've included the tongue-in-cheek Ronald McDonald animation meme I made a few weeks ago, and I've surprisingly found a lot of great reception with. It makes me so happy to see how many of you are interested in this silly little niche of mine, and without you mascot lovers, I wouldn't have been as inspired to continue this design project. I'm really looking forward to making more, and seriously, your interactions just make it all worth it to me. If you really like my work and what you're seeing and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe, and then you'll be up to date on when I release part 2 as a spoiler with Hamburglar, Officer Big Mac, Mayor McCheese, and another surprise character for those who know the lore. You will know. But hey, who would you like to see? Should I draw more brands? Please feel free to leave your thoughts below, and thank you so much for taking a trip to McDonaldland with me today. Ba-da-ba-da-bye. Please don't copyright that. Please, please.